morning, the Anti-Defamation League just released its annual report auditing anti-Semitic incidents. It states that 2025 was the third highest year for these incidents since the league began tracking them in 1979.
And that report follows some findings by the Chicago Human Relations Commission, which found that anti-Semitic hate crimes in Chicago sharply rose in the last 2 years. Specifically in that report, it states that anti-Jewish hate crimes are up 58%. So here to talk more about today's report and its findings, Rebecca Weininger, the Senior Director of the ADL Midwest. Good morning, Rebecca. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So before we dive into the report and the findings and what stood out to you most, can you tell us about how the ADL specifically defines anti-Semitism?
Absolutely. They are bias-motivated incidents that are intended against someone who is identifiably Jewish or someone who the perpetrator believes to be Jewish.
Now let's talk about the report that was just released minutes ago. What were some of the ADL's key findings?
Well, nationwide, this was one of the most violent years on record for the Jewish community in the United States. And overall, the numbers remain higher than at any point before the October 7th, 2023 Hamas massacre. But what I really want you to know this morning is that it's important to remember that there is a person, a family, a congregation, a community behind each number. Last year, 2 people were shot and killed outside of a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. because the shooter believed they were both Jewish. People were burned alive while participating in a peaceful walk in Boulder, Colorado to keep attention on hostages held in Gaza. And an arsonist set fire to Governor of Pennsylvania's home while he and his family were inside right after a Passover Seder. So what we know is that it is really dangerous to be Jewish right now.
And what do you attribute and what is the ADL really pointing to when it comes to the rise in these anti-Semitic incidents?
There is a perpetual rise in hate since October 7th, 2023. That is not just a blip. It is a trend. We are still 70% higher than we were the year before the October 7th massacre. Perpetuation of hate online, the normalization of violent and hateful rhetoric towards Jews has normalized violence towards Jews, either as political speech or as justification for these upward trends in hate. We catalog harassment, assault, and vandalism, and those numbers are so high and so normalized against Jews that we have accepted that the level of anti-Semitism against us, particularly in the city of Chicago, has risen. And that we just need to absorb as a community the fact that anti-Semitism is happening to us and to our children.
Rebecca, I have to ask you to talk about some criticism the ADL has received about what is said to be your changing definition of anti-Semitism over the decades. Some groups, for instance, criticizing the ADL for equating, let's say, anti-Israel speech, for instance, over policy to anti-Semitism. How do you respond to that?
I want to be super clear about this. Criticism of the state of Israel is not only acceptable and not anti-Semitic, but it is necessary in a functioning democracy to be critical of the decisions of a foreign government, to be critical of the decisions of a duly elected government. We do not count and specifically exclude any speech that is criticism of the state of Israel. The only thing that we do count is when the conclusion of that speech is that Israel should not exist as a Jewish state. That is an incident of anti-Semitism. I speak for the 86% of the Jewish community in the United States that believes that Israel is integral to our religious, ethnic identity. So mere criticism of the state of Israel is, by definition, not anti-Semitism. But when you conclude from that valid and reasonable criticism that Israel should not exist as a state, then we've crossed over into anti-Semitism.
I appreciate you making that distinction for us this morning. Thank you.
Rebecca Weininger, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.